Hey everybody, welcome back to another exciting episode of XMen Collectibles. We're here today with another every omnibus release so far, and today we're going to highlight the X-Men. So as you can see, got quite a few omnibus from the group here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 omnibus released. And I didn't include any X-Force, Wolverine, or any other X books, just really X-Men team books. So this isn't really so much of a history lesson, more of a collected edition video that you could refer to if you're trying to collect all the omnibus. So without further ado, we're going to start with the book that started it all, the X-Men Silver Age run by Stan Lee, Jack Kirby. Also had some work by Roy Thomas and Werner Roth. This might actually be the first omnibus ever released as well. It's the only one that has like a matte cover. It's not a glossy cover. But it includes the first appearance of the X-Men, X-Men issues 1 through 31. You can see the back there. Also, you get the first appearance of the Vanisher, the Blob, Magneto, Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, including Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. You have some unknown guys like Eunice, first appearance of Juggernaut, of the Sentinels, Mimic, whatever happened to him, and that's about it. So, as all classic Marvel Omnibus, you have a black leather book with the silver embossed logo and spine. Not the easiest read. It's interesting to see where a lot of this stuff, started from, but it's very dated and Silver Age. But it's still cool stuff to have. This is what we like to call a whale. It's out of print. Sells for a pretty good amount of money on eBay and on Amazon. But I wouldn't go dropping a lot of money on this just now with the Disney-Fox merger. We may just see a reprint of this stuff. So, that was Volume 1. This is Volume 2, which collects issues 32 through 66 and the Avengers number 53. Got your nice classic cover. There goes your spine. And the issues on the back. So, the Silver Age X-Men run was not that popular. So this completes the whole Silver Age run. Actually, issues 64 through 93 just end up reprinting a bunch of the issues from 1 through 60, whatever. So it really wasn't selling good at the time. Even though it was kind of risky if you think. A lot of the the whole basic X-Men plot has to do with, like, what do you want to call it? Not racial. It's kind of like a anti-prejudice and discrimination type of book, but they use mutants instead of, like, minorities or, like, the homosexual community. There's a whole bunch of YouTube videos that explain it better than I could. But in this one, you have... What's some first appearances here? Polaris, Havoc, Sauron, Savage Land. Some cool stuff here. First time Spider-Man meets the X-Men. So, also pretty hard to find. Not as big as a whale as Volume 1. So after issue 93... we get this book here, Giant Size X-Men number 1, which starts off the all-new, all-different X-Men team and eventually becomes the Uncanny XMen. So, Uncanny XMen Volume 1 by Chris Claremont. You got Cockrum and John Byrne. Collects Giant Size X-Men 1 and then the X-Men 94 through 131. So, after Giant Size X-Men introduces the new X-Men team, Wolverine, Colossus, Storm, Nightcrawler, Thunderbird. it ends up picking up after the reprinted issues and picks up with issue 94, and then it's basically a whole new X book from there on. I forgot to mention X-Men 1, also first appearance of Professor X. I guess I didn't mention the first team. Cyclops, Beast, Jean Grey, which was Marvel Girl, Angel, and Iceman. Anyway, in this book you have, those first appearances. You have the Dark Phoenix saga. What else you got here? A lot of good stories. There's the front, Uncanny Volume 1 and the spine. You get some really good art in these books. This is when the X-Men start to really pick up steam. Giant Size X-Men #1 was also the second full appearance of Wolverine after his first full appearance in Incredible Hulk 181. So that Giant Size X-Men was a pretty big deal, man. Really saved the X-Men franchise. I mean, who knows what would have happened if that never came out, right? They were just being reprinted at the time. Then we got Volume 2. Oh, I'm sorry. So the Volume 1 has the first appearance of Phoenix. Volume 2 has the actual Dark Phoenix saga. Cyclops leaving the team. Days of Future Past. Oh yeah, you know what I wanted to say? I was debating this with a friend of mine the other day. So it looks like issue 114 is the first time it's titled the Uncanny XMen. Anyway, so yeah, you have Days of Future Past here. And this collects X-Men 132 through 141. Then you have Annual 4 and 5. And then the Uncanny X-Men 142 through 153. Yeah, see, that was my debate. I thought 142 was the first time it was called the Uncanny X-Men. So I guess what happened is, issue 114, they started writing it above the title. But issue 142, which is Days of Future Past Part 2, I believe it was traditionally renamed the Uncanny X-Men, like in the insignia and everything. Because that's when they start calling it the Uncanny X-Men. So then you have 142 through 153, Avengers Annual 10, which is the first appearance of Rogue, and Marvel Fanfare 1 through 4. I'm glad I got this copy of the book, which has the original artwork for issue 137 here. They have another volume where it's the same art, but it's like a more modernized look at it. And, not really a big fan of that. I mean, it's cool, but I'd rather have the original. So you got the same creative team. The art is very similar. It's that Bronze Age X-Men stuff, which is very dope. Here goes first Kitty Pryde, or first time she becomes part of the X-Men. Now, growing up, she was always Shadowcat, but I don't know. I guess in the comics, she was more known as Kitty Pryde. Cool Doctor Doom Storm cover. I've read this run before. I'm going to have to go ahead and do a reread, especially with that classic X-Men Omnibus. But it's hard to go do rereads when you got such a backlog of stuff that you never read, including some of these X books that I haven't read yet. So that reread going to have to wait. So the third and final volume that's been released so far of Uncanny X-Men is Volume 3, which collects Uncanny X-Men 154 through 175, the X-Men Annual 6 and 7, Special Edition X-Men 1, Marvel Graphic Novel 5. It also includes the Frank Miller Wolverine miniseries 1 through 4 and Magic 1 through 4. So, what do we got here? Just some good stories here, man. I'm seeing some Brood stuff, Some Dark Phoenix stuff. First time Rogue is in the X-Men title. So again, nothing too spectacular with the actual book here. Same creative team, I believe. Oh, Smith is involved. I'm not sure which Smith, but I'm sure he's a stand-up guy. Anyway, that's your Uncanny. I believe there's room for one more volume of Uncanny X-Men that would round it out. Correct me if I'm wrong. We have not seen a solicit for it yet. But I'm sure it's coming again, especially with the whole Disney getting those rights back. I know that it's still pending investigation or whatever, but yeah. So then you have the XMen Classic Omnibus, which ends up collecting X-Men or Classic X-Men 1 through 44. I went over this in my haul video, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. But it basically is a director's cut of the Uncanny run with added art and added pages to flesh out the stories, which is a really cool idea, and it looks like a cool read. When I used to see these in my local comic shop, I just always assumed they were like reprints, which they kind of are and they kind of aren't. So it's definitely a cool book. It has art on the front. Here goes your spine, and art on the back. Again, I just recently showed this in one of my haul videos, so I don't want to get too in-depth. So that's going to take us out of the Bronze Age and into the Copper Modern Age, which is the X-Men that I grew up with, which is the renumbered and retitled X-Men from the 90s. This is Volume 1, which includes Uncanny XMen 244, which is the first appearance of Jubilee, through 269, has X-Men Annual 13 and Classic X-Men 39. So actually, let me take a step back. This is when Gimli came on board, but before it was rebranded as X-Men. That happens in Volume 2. So this skips, because Volume 3 goes from Uncanny 175. This picks up at 244, so there's a little chunk of material missing. But like I said, Omnibus really follow a creative team. You have first appearance of Gambit here, Psylocke's first appearance in X-Men. You got that classic Captain America, Wolverine, Black Widow cover. Did I show this yet? Old school style on the actual book. So yeah, this is when you're getting into the more Copper Age X-Men stuff. There's some Gimli Psylocke for you. Wolverine stuff. Alright, cool book. Chris Claremont, Gimli, Mark Silvestri. I forgot about those issues. Volume 2 is then when we get into the whole 90s era. Gimli XMen. So this one actually collects X Factor 63 through 70, Uncanny X-Men 273 through 280, then that X-Men from 1991, which I guess is Volume 2, 1 through 9, and material from 10 and 11. Also has Ghost Rider 26 and 27. So what do you got here? That initial run with the Gimli 4-cover issue that sold like 8 million copies. First appearance of Omega Red. And that cool 90s Gimli stuff. Same type of book under the dust jacket. With some Archangel goodness. Some Colossus goodness there. Everybody knows these covers. Everybody had a short box full of them. That's my favorite run on the X-Men. Probably just because of my, generation. All right, then, speaking of 90s X-Men, we get into the Age of Apocalypse. So, take a little water break from my sponsor, Aquafina. Age of Apocalypse. So, I remember this when it was coming out. I reread it recently, and it was hard to read. It was a little bit of a chore. The idea was a cool concept. You're in this alternate world where Apocalypse wins, and then your heroes are bad or different or whatever. It collects Uncanny XMen 320 through 321, X-Men 40 through 41, Cable 20, X-Men Alpha, Amazing XMen 1 through 4, Astonishing XMen 1 through 4, Factor X 1 through 4, Gambit and the Externals 1 through 4, Generation Next 1 through 4, Weapon X 1 through 4, Excalibur, I don't know, it's spelled weird, 1 through 4, X-Man 1 through 4, X-Men Omega, Age of Apocalypse, The Chosen, and X-Men Ashcan 2. So basically, Marvel produced all these little mini-series, all those 1 through 4s, dealing with those characters in this world. You have a cool wraparound cover. But yeah, Sabretooth is good, Colossus is bad, Wolverine is missing an arm, Magneto is married to Rogue and he's good. Very 90s extreme art going on here. And I don't know, I just remember when I read it sometime last year. And I don't know, I think it just, I don't know if the story was dragged on a little too much. Some stuff was more interesting than the others. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't really like it that much. Cyclops is bad, I believe. A lot of people like Age of Apocalypse. Hey, if you like it, and that's for you, cool. Wasn't really my thing. Then you have the Age of Apocalypse Companion, which I have not read yet. Here goes the Companion. A Companion includes stories that support and back up the main book. So this has X-Men Chronicles 1 through 2, Tales from the Age of Apocalypse 1 through 2, X-Men 1 and 53 through 54. Blink 1 through 4, X-Universe 1 and 2, Exile 60 and 61, X-Men Age of Apocalypse 1 through 6 and One Shot, What If 77 and 81, and What If X-Men Age of Apocalypse plus material from Hulk Broken Worlds 2, X-Men Prime, X-Men Annual 6, X-Men Endangered Species, Exiles Days of Then and Now, and Official Handbook of the Marvel Universe Age of Apocalypse 2005. Holy shit, man. I mean, you can kind of tell by all the different publications how fucking scrambled around it is, right? Anyway, here's the front of the hardcover. Here's the back. So, more of that Ninja Turtle Colossus with the bandana over his head, the red bandana. They had a lot of, what do you call that? I don't even know. Horizontal landscaping? Or is that vertical landscaping? I like 90s stuff too. I don't know. I mean, I like the 2099 stuff better than I did the Age of Apocalypse stuff. From Mr. Sinister. Alright, anyway, that's enough of that. So next we have, it's X-Men / Avengers Onslaught. Always feels a little bit more like an X-Men book to me. I don't know, maybe because of the villain. But this came out around the time I started to get out of comics back in the 90s. I have not yet read this storyline. I hear it's not the greatest. You know, if I didn't like Age of Apocalypse, I don't know, I'm nervous about whether or not I like this. But it includes Cable 32 through 36, Uncanny XMen 333 through 337, X-Force 55 and 57 through 58, X-Men 15 through 19, X-Men 53 through 57, X-Men Unlimited 1, Onslaught X-Men Avengers 401 through 402, Fantastic Four 414, Incredible Hulk 444 through 445, Wolverine 104 and 105, X Factor 125, 126, Amazing Spider-Man 415, Green Goblin 12, Spider-Man 72, Iron Man 332, Punisher 11, Thor 502, Onslaught Marvel Universe, X-Men Annual 96, Onslaught Epilogue, X-Men Road to Onslaught and material from Excalibur 100, and Fantastic Four 416. Holy shit, that's a lot of individual issues. So here goes the wraparound cover. Pretty cool stuff here, man. You got Bone Claw Wolverine, Onslaught. What is Onslaught? A mixture of Magneto and somebody else? Some cool Thor stuff, Iron Man, Cap. Let's see if it tells me more information about who Onslaught is, because I don't recall. Well, whatever. I'm sure, you know, somebody can hit me up in the comments. Got some Juggernaut. Some Hulk. Wolverine looking like he's getting a little bit more feral. That's Elektra. Sabretooth and Mystique. Onslaught. We got some Spider-Man stuff. Ben Reilly Spider-Man, actually, with a Sentinel. With some trading cards. Super 90s. It looks pretty cool, man. I would like to read it. It's funny because I just saw Cable with Invisible Woman. This is what the Marvel movies are going to end up being, man. You're going to be seeing everybody joining in everybody else's movies and shit, which I think is pretty cool. All right, so we're into territory that I'm not really familiar with. This is, I don't know, I've heard mixed things about Grant Morrison's new X-Men. I've heard good and I've heard bad. Grant Morrison can be a very dense writer, which sometimes is rewarding. Sometimes it can be hard to follow. This collects New X-Men 114 through 154 and New X-Men 2001. I believe it's just renumbered after the Jim Lee run of X-Men. Old school style. This is the first print. They recently reprinted this, which probably has the newer spine and stuff like that. What does this have? Like the first Phantom X in this or something? I don't know. I remember this cover from something. from what I remember, this takes more of, you know, the costume look from the X-Men movies in the 2000s, like the black leather and stuff like that. Pretty cool stuff. I'd like to read this. I actually just finished my Sandman read through, so I need something new to read. I told myself I bought that Akira box set that I got to get into that, but I don't know, man. I haven't started anything yet, so I'm kind of thinking of what should I do next. Here goes Stepford Sisters. Anyway, that's your Grant Morrison run. Then this book gets into a little bit of whale status. So this is Astonishing XMen by Josh Whedon and John Cassidy, who Josh Whedon is best known for his directing The Avengers. And, you know, not as notable for directing The Avengers Age of Ultron. I hear this book is good. I think this is when we get into the very school type of vibe, is it? I don't know, I might be wrong. Nice art. I'd like to read this. Maybe I should read this next. I don't know. When we get to the end of the video, I'll ask you guys what your thoughts are and your recommendations. Pretty cool artwork. More of a modern take from the 90s stuff. Feral Beast. Some cool stuff here. So that's your Astonishing XMen by Josh Whedon. And the last X-Men book of part of the collection, and there's some honorable mentions, so don't worry, is going to be X-Men Legacy Legion. This came out right around the time of the show, which Legion, I believe, is Xavier's son with a crazy split personality, all complete with their own set of mutant powers. Have not read this yet. I hear it could be a little dense as well, and a little confusing with all his different layers of his mind and all the different powers that he has. So that's your Legion Omnibus. Some honorable mentions that I didn't include in this video, which I do have, but I'll include them in other videos. The biggest one that I think, man, maybe I should have included it here was Wolverine in the X-Men, which I forget if it's before or after Avengers vs. X-Men, but it has to do with Wolverine taking over the Xavier school. I didn't include any of the Wolverine Omnibus, so I'll include that with the Wolverine video that I'll do. I did not include any X-Force books because I think I'm going to include that with my Deadpool video, because Deadpool and the X-Force is really X-Force Volume 2, and it just didn't feel like it would go in here. Also, X-Static. I actually have that with my X-Men books, but it's really a post-X-Force book as well, so I didn't include that. So anyway, that's it for my every X-Men Omnibus release so far. Thinking about the solicitations, I'm not sure if anything has been solicited to come out besides some Wolverine stuff. So let me know in the comments what your favorite X-Men run is. Let me know if I missed anything important that I should have mentioned, and what you recommend that I read next. I've already read the Silver Age X-Men, the Uncanny XMen stuff. So should I read that Age of Apocalypse Companion? Should I read Onslaught, Astonishing, or New X-Men, or Legion? You let me know. I need something else to read. Your input would be greatly appreciated. Once again, thank you guys for tuning in. Catch you guys next time on XMen Collectibles. Peace.